Hi, thanks for joining us for the Family Plot, Gardening in the Mid-South. I'm Chris Cooper. It is time to plant vegetable seeds. Today we're going to plant beans, squash, melons, and okra. Also, aerating your lawn can help nutrients, water, and air reach the grass roots. Today we will show you how to do it. That's just ahead on the Family Plot, Gardening in the Mid-South.
Production funding for the Family Plot, Gardening in the Mid-South is provided by Goodwin's Landscape and Garden Center in Germantown since 1943 and continuing to offer its plants for successful gardening with 7 greenhouses and 3 acres of plants, plus comprehensive landscape services. International Paper Foundation, the WKNO Production Fund, the WKNO Endowment Fund, and by viewers like you. Thank you.
Welcome to the Family Plot. I'm Chris Cooper. Joining me today is Mike Dennison. Mr. D is a retired Extension County Director, and Booker T. Lee will be joining us later to show us how to aerate our lawn. All right, Mr. D, we're planting seeds.
I think all danger of frost is past.
I think it's
I don't
gone
think
now.
we have to worry about it.
I don't think so.
Okay, we're planting this vegetables in this raised bed, and it's a little different from planting it in a garden. You, in your office, you've got a real good vegetable planting guide
do.
that the state of Tennessee has developed, and it tells you how far apart to space plants,
Yes, sir.
how deep to plant them, and things like that. We're going to have to put them a little closer here than we
Okay.
would normally do in a big garden. Let's, to try to organize this, let's measure how much room we've got here and try to split this into about 4 different areas. And looks like we're about, it's 19 feet 3 inches is what it is.
Okay.
So we're going to call that 20 feet. So we're going to split it into 4 different areas. So it's going to be about, start from this end because it's easier.
Yeah, it'd be a lot easier.
20 feet would be how about that? That look
right.
pretty close to even. Okay, an average rule of thumb on planting seeds is to plant them, as far as the depth is concerned, is plant them about 4 times the diameter of the seed.
Okay.
So for large seed like corn and beans and things like that, you'll probably end up planting them about 1 inch deep. Some of the real small seed, turnips and things like that, you'll only plant maybe 1/4 inch deep.
Okay.
It's very important to try to have good soil to seed contact. So we're going to start by planting some cantaloupes here.
All right. Our melons. All right.
Right, the melon. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to come in, I'm going to plant, looks like I've got room for 1, 2, maybe 3. I'm going to try to plant them hills with about 4 or 5, maybe 6 plants in
Okay.
it, and plant them about 1 foot apart is what I'm going to try to do here.
All right.
I'm going to come in here, I'm about 1 foot from each side here, and I'm not going to dig a very deep hole because these seeds only need to be planted about 1 inch deep. I'm going to open that hole up right here, and I'm going to come back and I'm going to do the same thing right here. I'm still about 1 foot away. Open me a little hole right there. And then I'm going to come over here about 1 foot and do the same thing. Okay, now we have 6 holes, which will be 6 hills of cantaloupe plants. And if all of these seeds come up, they're going to be way, way too thick.
Yeah,
way too thick. I may let you help me here. I'm going to shake them out here. I'll let you hold that for me.
Okay, you can do that.
Okay, I'm going to try to put like 6 seed in this first hole. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think 5 is enough. That's a lot of seed. I'm going to come back to this other hole and do the same thing.
Oh, looks like you have
Later
just
on,
enough.
if all of these come up, like I said, we're going to have way too many plants, and we'll need to come back and probably thin them to only 1 plant per hill. Now, like I said, these seed are pretty small, so I'm probably only going to try to get about 1/2 inch of soil on top of them. And I'm just going to use my trowel here and just kind of
Just lightly cover
lightly
it up.
cover it up. Try to kind of keep the clods out. And now that I've done that, get out of the way, I'm going to grab my rake over here, and I'm going to try to firm it up just a little bit. And I'm just going to kind of do this number.
Okay.
That will just firm up your seed bed a little bit. And you notice that I'm going over the whole area here because I'm not real sure where those hills are. Hopefully if they all come up, we'll know where they are. So next we've got cucumber.
Oh, cucumber.
Cucumber. Okay, so I'm going to go between here, and I'm going to do about the same thing because these running plants will take up about the same amount of space. So I've got an imaginary line running down through here. I'm going to come in and I'm going to come out about a foot from my line and a foot from there, and we're going to do the same thing we did. I'm just going to open up me a little hole here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Cover them up here a little bit. The thing I do with the rake is probably more valuable than about anything I'm doing here. And the way we figured that out is when we plant forages, we noticed that the seed would come up quicker in the tractor tires where the tractor ran over and compacted the soil than in the other area. So just a good idea to, and the implement the farmers use is called a cultipacker. And many of the planters have a press wheel on the back of the planter, which will do the same thing. It'll go ahead and press it down, as part of the planting process. All right, what's next?
All right. How about watermelon?
Watermelon.
How about
All
that?
right, what variety is that? Jubilee.
Jubilee.
That is a good variety. They grow that commercially down in Alabama and have for a number of years. These probably are a little bit larger seeds, so I may have to plant just a little bit deeper. I may go for 3/4 of an inch here.
How many seeds are you going to put per?
Let's go with only 4 of these, I think. Now, if you come out here in the summer and you eat watermelons, these are not seedless. I'm going for about 3/4 of an inch here. All right. What's our last trailing
That's what's
plant?
left.
Squash. Yellow crookneck?
Straight neck.
Straight neck.
Straight
Okay,
neck.
well, that'll work. This should be about the same size as the cucumbers and everything, shouldn't it? No, it's more like the watermelon. How about that?
Pretty good size seed.
Pretty big seed. So we'll do the same thing. We'll shoot for about 3/4 of an inch deep on these two. Okay. My line. Gotta be on the lookout for Mr. Squash vine borer with these things. 1, 2, 3, 4. And the reason we planted all of those trailing vegetable plants on that side of this bed is because we know they're going to run, and we know they're not all going to be contained in the bed, and we don't want them running over here in our Bermuda grass lawn. We want to keep them over in the garden area, the raised bed area, and we have gravel over here in between these beds, and it'll be okay if they run out there because we're not going to be running a lawnmower over there. Yeah. Other plants that we're going to plant that are upright growing, we've got some okra and some snap beans. I'm thinking about how we want this thing to look, and okra is much taller growing plant than snap beans, and I'm thinking we might want to put a couple of rows of okra and say start them here and go to here, and then on both ends put snap beans. What do you think about that?
I like that.
That way it'll be
I like that.
have a little symmetry to it. 10 to 12 inches apart is recommended spacing on okra. I'm going to run the rows like this. Do a bunch of little short rows. Okay. Okra seed's pretty small, isn't it?
Yeah, they're pretty small.
So I really only need about a 1/2 inch over these, or a little less.
How many are you going to put per?
Let's do with 4. Let's go with 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. It is going to be very important to thin these out. I'm going to go to my antique hoe. I'm getting tired of bending over. How about that? Yeah, it's really good for this kind of stuff. And if you're doing long rows, you can use one side of it to dig a trench. It's really handy. Okay,
All right.
let's do the same thing on firming it up. You know, it would be good to have those little labels that you can stick in the ground, but I think we can identify the plants
Once
when
they start
pop
coming
don't
up,
you?
we know what they are.
And the seed are fresh, they should be really good. Now, if you're using seed from last year that you stored in a freezer, you may want to up your seeding rate a little bit. Okay,
All right.
snap beans.
Snap beans.
We can put them like 4 inches apart. So let me dig. What I'm going to do is do some trenches like this. Those beans are a little bigger, so they need to be about 1 inch deep, I think. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put them about 4 inches apart.
Okay.
And these also will probably need to be thinned. Same thing, firm it up.
Firming up.
That ought to do it.
All right.
Don't take long to plant seed.
Not long at all. That was good. And we just do the same thing on the other side.
On the other side, right? Same thing on the other side with the snap beans.
All right, Mr. D, we definitely appreciate that.
Good
and
deal.
again, we'll see how well your germination rate
We'll
comes.
see how my germination rate comes.
There are a number of gardening events going on in the next couple of weeks. Here are just a few that might interest you. All right, Booker, we out here. We actually have an aerator. We're gonna aerate our lawns. So why do we need to aerate anyway?
Because over a period of time, your soil get compacted sometimes, and that means water, fertilizer, and not getting down to the root system.
Okay.
And over a period of time, that's going to happen. Especially you got a lot of traffic on your lawn, the kid playing on it, you cutting and mowing, crossing, walking, crossing, and then you need to aerate it sometime. And the aerator is going to loosen the soil up.
Okay.
For that water can get through the soil, it can move through the soil when it rains, the fertilizer can get down to the root system. You want all that to happen to your soil, to your grass. If not, when you put fertilizer in, it just don't stay on top. It's not going to get down to the root system. So you want to loosen that soil up some. And you got Bermuda grass and you got fescue grass. You got a warm season grass and you got a cool season grass. And the best time to do that is your warm season grass, when the grass begin to come out of dormancy.
Okay.
And this probably last of April or the 1st of May.
Okay.
It is not too hot, because once you aerate it, you expose no root system
Right.
to the heat. So you don't want to do that to it now. So
Okay.
if it's real hot and you do it, then you might need to water it in or something. You need to water it because those root systems will dry out.
Okay.
And for fescue lawn, you want to do that probably in September when that grass begin to grow. So you don't want to do it in the winter month when it's going dormancy. You don't want to do Bermuda grass in September, because if it's dormancy and it's not doing any growth, and the roots will be exposed all winter long, that could damage your grass.
Sure. Sure.
So this is a good time. No, it's not too hot now. You know, it probably get some rain and something. You don't need to water it in, and that's for the nutrient can pass through the soil. So we need to aerate it. Probably depending on how much traffic you have on your lawn, maybe 4 or 5 years, depending on how you
Okay,
traffic.
so it's not that often.
Not that
for the
often
most
you
part.
aerate. You know, then you got somebody out there doing something all the time, that's playing football or whatever you're doing on
Right.
your lawn or something like that, and having a compact soil. And that's why I tell folks, don't mow your grass when it's real wet, because when you're wet or damp a lot, you compacting the soil down, so you don't want to do it then. So you want to make sure that when you cut your grass and everything, it's kind of dry.
Okay.
And that's one thing you want to do that. So this is an aerator here. I know it's a good thing. And what the aerator do, it punches holes into the soil.
Okay.
You know, you go up and down, you go cross, and you get a good coverage on there for that water and stuff and pass through the soil.
Okay, so it pulls the plugs out. So we can leave the plugs
You
on
can
the
leave
ground?
plugs on the
Okay.
ground. You leave them. You don't worry about putting them in the thing there. You just leave them on the ground, and over a period of time, they'll break out.
Okay.
And they'll compact and be built into your soil.
And aeration is something that works, because you said you did it in your
I
own
did
yard,
mine
right?
a couple of years ago, and I could see the difference in that grass that year. It just came out so pretty and everything. Because when I saw it real compact, I had been in the house over 20 years, and I said, I need to do something to my grass, because it just wasn't doing good. I need to do something to it. And I said, let me aerate it. And I did that, and it really helped. You know, and if you've been in your lawn house for a while, you got compact soil, and you see the water and things not getting down to it like it should, it don't look like you should look, aerating.
Aerating, okay.
And this and know, like I said, you got Bermuda grass. You want to do it probably right the 1st of April. I mean, last of April or the 1st of May.
Okay.
And fescue in September.
Okay. And the grass will recover from, of course, the aeration itself.
Yeah, that's why I say you want to do
no
it.
problem.
That's why I say you want to do it when it begin to grow.
When
you
okay.
begin to grow, so you don't want to do it.
So it'll recover.
Recover quick, yeah. It can recover in there and stuff in there. And I wouldn't do it on a real hot day, like in there. So I wouldn't do it then. And
Okay.
if I do, you need to make sure that you water it in, 'cause you don't want to those roosters out there, because they could dry out.
Okay. All right, Book.
Yeah, you
So
want to do it. You show me a show for how I do it and how I look and everything in there. 'Cause when I was doing it last time, they were pulling me down the thing. You be very careful when you're doing that. So
okay.
we don't go and do this and show you how to do this.
Okay, yeah, that'd be good. So what you think?
Man, it's good. To tell you to do it with a clip. Do it when it's not too hot. But it's good though. Do what you need to do.
Okay.
You see how it's going up and down? Just like mowing your grass. Make sure I try to cover every spot in there. And this is gonna hit the grass a lot better. You'll see it again this year. You'll see how it grows real good.
Okay.
Aeration is very important.
Okay, yeah, we can see the little plugs that
See the
pulled
blood
out
come
too.
out of the ground and everything, so going through there. If you want to do it real good, you can go back across another way.
Okay.
That will help some too. But this should be good enough. Just one way should be okay.
Okay. All right, Book, again, so how often do we need to do this?
Probably about every 3 or 4 years, depending on how much traffic you have in your lawn. And what I would do there, I would just look at my soil and see how the water is it doing anything, the water begin to penetrate to the soil.
Okay.
And you would then just look at this grass. You can tell when it's come back or not. When it rain, water kind of stand for a while.
Right.
Also that when you're adding fertilizer to it and your grass not doing anything, it might just be standing on top of the soil and not getting into the root system. So you can tell that when you do that. So this is a good thing to do aeration. I like doing it. And it's good.
And it's good for the grass because
Good for the grass now. Yeah, let water and air move to the soil and also get fertilizer down to it. And you need that because grass need to breathe too. Okay. Roots need some air, and that's why we do aeration. Okay. Aerate the soil and everything. So, and like I said again now, Bermuda grass, you want to do it probably about April, stuff last April to between May. And fescue grass is a cool season grass. You want to do it when that grass begin to grow, and fescue being sometime in September.
All right, well, Booker, we appreciate that demonstration.
Oh, good.
All right, so this is Roundup in the Tank, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna kill all of this Bermuda grass that's in our flower beds. We definitely don't want the Bermuda grass here. What I'm gonna do is just go around the perimeter here, spray a little bit there. Bermuda is a creeper. Right? It has rhizomes and stolons. And if you're not careful, I always like to tell people it likes to go for those flower beds and those garden beds. And you want to make sure you get good coverage when you're doing it. Be careful not to apply on a very windy day. This will knock out your grass weeds and a lot of your broadleaf weeds as well. All right, folks, there you have it. Roundup, kill your Bermuda grass and also your broadleaf weeds. All right, this is our Q&A session. And Booker, you jump in there with us, all right?
I do that.
Okay, here's our first viewer email. I have a garden plot that was a farmer's field years back. The ground grows great tomatoes, peas, and okra, and other above ground crops. I cannot get any in-ground veggies to grow, beets, onions, carrots, and turnips. The greenery grows, but the veggies don't. The ground tills up fine, but then it turns hard as a rock. How do I amend my soil to make it easier for my plants to grow? Have tried chicken manure, horse manure, etc., and it is still hard. And this is Miss Beth in Cleveland. Booker, it is still hard after she tried all of that. So what do you think?
Well, she might just start doing some compost bin, add some good nutrient in there and try to break it up some. And also when you got the underground crop to grow, it could be like potassium low in deficiency because it's an above crop growing good. Sometimes your root crop, they need a more phosphorus and potassium. So she might want to check a soil pH and also start adding organic material to a soil when it go back together real fast. That could be some of the problem, compact soil.
Okay, Mr. D.
I agree with that. Also, gypsum is a product, calcium sulfate, that will tend to open up the soil. You may want to try that as a soil amendment in addition to, you know, any compost, pine bark, anything that can kind of open it up a little bit. But, you know, if you're doing a good job with tomatoes and peas and beans and all that kind of stuff, you know.
That's good, ain't it?
Yeah, that is really good. I wouldn't do a whole lot in the area where you're growing those.
Sure.
If that's working.
Now they're doing okay already, so we don't want to start that.
Yeah, she said indicated they were doing actually pretty good. What about this, Booger? What about a soil test? You think that'll help out?
You do a soil test, and the soil test will tell her what you need to add to the soil, especially the soil pH. Now, the soil pH is off counter, that might be some problem too. Your other nutrients got tied up in the soil, and it might not be used up by the plant.
Okay.
So you might want to do that too, just to see. And what is $7 per box?
$7 per box.
Well spent.
Well worth it.
May just be that Cleveland soil over there.
All right, so here's our next viewer email. For the last 2 years, my squash plants had blooms and they were growing squash, but then they died from the bottom of the plant up. Why did this happen and how can I prevent this year? This is from Miss Linda. So the squash plant, they had the blooms, they were growing, but then the plant died from the bottom up, Mr. D. And I see you thinking over there.
Didn't we have some that did that out in the backyard last year? I believe it's probably a squash vine borer.
That's what I believe.
Probably what the problem is, and you can tell, especially if you look down at the base of the plant and there's some frass coming out and just really trashy looking junk coming out of the trunk close to the soil line, then you probably have a squash vine borer. And if that's the case, if you're at that point, it's too late to do anything.
Too late.
If you've had a history of a problem with that, then probably right about now you ought to start spraying a pesticide out there like once every 7 days. Carbaryl, bifenthrin, esfenvalerate, and permethrin are 4 products that are recommended in the Red Book, the UT Red Book. Be sure that you direct your sprays to the base of the plant because that's where the moth is going to lay her eggs, and that hopefully will prevent you from having another infection like that.
How far out would you need to spray the plant, you think?
You know, probably 1 or 2 feet. You know, if you got a big squash plant, you don't have to get out there where the fruit are.
Okay.
With these products, but I don't think I've seen a borer go in, you know, much over 12 inches from the soil line. Most of them are right there within 3 or 4 inches of the soil line. This is where they go into the plant.
Okay. All right, good deal. There you have it, Miss Linda. All right, here's our next viewer email. How do you get rid of squash bugs? They were a huge problem in my garden last year. Mr. D, squash bugs. It seems to be a huge problem every year.
Right. And 3 of the products that I just mentioned,
Yeah.
you know, and this is something you wouldn't do on a preventative basis. You wait until you see the bugs are there and use either bifenthrin, esfenvalerate, or permethrin. Those are 3 products that you can use. They do a lot of damage, but the larvae and the adults feed on the plant. They have piercing, sucking mouth parts, and they suck the juices out of the plant, and they can do a lot of damage to the plant. But they also have been discovered there's a relatively new disease called yellow vine decline, and we are pretty sure the squash bug is a vector of that disease. So it's probably a good idea to try to control them if you can.
Okay. And one thing I like to mention too, flip the leaves over because you actually see their eggs. They look like little bronze footballs.
Little copper footballs.
And they usually come in a group of 12 or more, but they look just like little bronze footballs.
And if you pull that leaf off and destroy it, you know, you might help. You can do a little cultural control like that, but a squash plant's got a lot of leaves.
Yes, man, and they're rough. So, and the thing too I like to mention, look, practice good sanitation.
Rotate the vegetables. I tell people to rotate the vegetables in the garden each year and don't try to put them in the same place because some disease or some insect might not get in the same plant that like squash vine borer might get on corn or something there. So you might want to do that, might rotate the vegetable in your garden as best you can. So we always do that.
Right, so crop rotation, and practice good sanitation.
Yeah, good sanitation.
Right. And inspection.
Inspection.
You better get out there and scout.
Better be on your toes.
Yeah, gotta be on your toes. All right, Booker, Mr. D, we're out of time. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Remember, We love to hear from you. Send us an email or letter. The email address is familyplot@wkno.org, and the mailing address is Family Plot, 7151 Cherry Farms Road, Cordova, Tennessee 38016. Or you can go online to familyplotgarden.com. That's all we have time for today. To get more information on seed planting, lawn care, or anything else we talked about on today's show, go to familyplotgarden.com. Thanks for watching. I'm Chris Cooper. Be sure to join us next week for the Family Plot, Gardening in the Mid-South. Be safe.
Production funding for the Family Plot, Gardening in the Mid-South is provided by Good Winds Landscape and Garden Center in Germantown since 1943 and continuing to offer its plants for successful gardening with 7 greenhouses and 3 acres of plants, plus comprehensive landscape services. International Paper Foundation, the WKNO Production Fund, the WKNO Endowment Fund, and by viewers like you. Thank you.